know if you have heard of the Marie Kondo effect. Marie began her consulting business while she was still a student in the University of Tokyo. But very shortly, she has become world-renowned. She has a book that is #1 on the New York bestsellers list. She has her very own television program, all helping people to tidy up. Thrift stores nationwide, such as Goodwill, Restore, and Partners in Care, are experiencing an increase of donations, all attributed to the Marie Kondo effect. Using Marie's method, you work through your belongings in a logical way. You start with your clothing, then you clean up your books, then you take care of your papers, and then everything else. When Marie comes to your home, there's no judgment. There's no negative comments on your decor or your mess. She simply teaches you the Kondo process and then leaves you to do the work. The first step is to tidy your clothes. And you are told to go and gather all of your clothing from throughout the house and pile it up in one room. Most of the time when people do this, they are overwhelmed by the amount of clothing that they have. You know, when our clothes are squashed into our cupboards or crammed into the drawers, we don't even know what we have. But when it is piled up, and I mean piled up, suddenly you become aware of what doesn't fit, what is uncomfortable, and just like what is out of style. And you realize that you don't need all of this. And Marie asks you to pick up each item and hold it, and think about it, and see if it sparks joy for you. If it sparks joy, then she teaches you how to fold it and put it back in your drawers or cupboards so that you can easily see and use it again. If it doesn't spark joy, if it doesn't fit into your future, then you just let it go. You say, thank you very much, and you donate it. Most of the time, these items are serviceable, and they can go on to make someone else joyful. Watching Marie's show makes it apparent very quickly that we hang on to stuff for reasons other than joy. Some items bring back memories, for example. There was a young gal on her show, and she was particularly attached to a little black dress that her grandma had bought her. She remembers shopping that day, and she remembers the joy of the day. And plus, when she was 16, that little black dress fit. It fit well, and it was serviceable. It took her to many good events. But at 26, it does no longer fits her body, and it no longer fits her lifestyle. When she realized that the gift from her grandma was actually affirmation and time together and a sense of shared style, not just that one particular black dress, she had no problem letting it go. Sometimes we hold on to our items simply out of fear that as soon as we give it away, we're going to need it. And it's as if we gain security just from the sheer volume of stuff that we hold on to. Same show. Most people ask her to help them clean out the garage, and they'll open the garage door to reveal a room filled ceiling to floor, wall to wall with boxes. They don't even know what's in the boxes anymore, but they're storing it. And there's no way that that garage can fulfill its purpose of housing a car or even be useful as a workshop. Marie Kondo's methods work because it shifts people from mindlessly acquiring and holding on to stuff to thoughtfully keeping what is useful and brings you joy. People shift from mindless consumer to thoughtful steward. Jesus tried to get the disciples and anybody else who would listen to shift their concept of how to use their belongings and wealth. Did you know 16 of his 38 parables are about belongings and how to use them? Overall, the Bible has about 500 verses on prayer, under 500 verses on faith, but it has 2,350 verses on possessions, wealth, and how to use it. When Jesus talks about money, he doesn't talk about it as a symbol of our worth, but rather as leverage to get something done. So I invite you into one of his parables to see how he proposed that we shift from consumer to steward. Imagine that you are an employee or a servant, a landowner, a very wealthy landowner. And one day, your boss, your master, decides he's going to take a year off and go and travel the world. And so he calls you and two of your co-workers into his office, and he divides up the assets of his business between the three of you. And that first employee gets 5 shares, the second gets 2 shares, and you get 1 share. In a consumer frame of mind, we are always comparing what we have with somebody else. And so a consumer who only gets 1 share is thinking, what's wrong with my master? Like, how come my buddy's got more shares than I did? I work just as hard. I'm just as faithful. I deserve more. This is the first lesson of stewardship. Possessions are not earned, they are given. When you think that you have earned them, then you begin to compare yourself with others, and that's just going to lead to disappointment. Once you understand that your possessions, even the ones you've worked for, are given to you, then you are freed from their tyranny. You don't have to protect them. You don't have to serve them. You don't have to feel deprived for not having them. You can just use them instead of consume them. So, each of these employees takes their block of assets and they get to work. And a year later, the landowner comes back and he asks for a report. And the guy with 5 assets, he's so excited. He's like, boss, I took that 5 assets that you gave me and I made 5 more. Here are 10 shares, 10 talents. And you think, oh man, it must be easier to earn more when you start with more. But then your other buddy gets up and he's in front of his boss, you gave me 2 shares and I made 2 more. Here is 4 shares back. Well, that just blows your theory right out of the water. Despite beginning with different amounts, both of these employees have faithfully doubled the assets. Well done, says the owner to those 2 friends. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of more things. You can't even believe what you're hearing. It turns out stewardship is not about how much you have, but how you use it. Stewards are always thinking, how can I leverage these items that I've been given into something more for God? And consumers think, how can I protect what I have for myself? It's not about what you have in your wallet. It's what you have in your head, in your heart, in your soul. When the time comes for you to make your report, you become defensive. Try to justify your decision to bury those shares so that none would be lost. You try to shift the blame. Master, you say, I knew that you were a hard man, with the expectation of reaping gain, and I was afraid. But here at least is what you gave me. As soon as those words fall out of your mouth, you come to a second realization. Stewards have a fundamentally different view of the master, of the boss, of the director, of the owner, whatever name you want to use. To them, he seems generous because he's entrusted you with his possessions, and it seems easy to please. But if you're in the consumer frame of mind, he seems stingy or partial to the rich or impossible to please. To those employees that invested well, the owner said, "Come and share in my happiness." We often think that a reward for our work will be a greater share of the whole, more stuff. But the owner was interested in the steward's joy or happiness. And the steward was first focused on the master's joy or happiness. Now, before we get to the story's sad consequences of fearfully clutching money and possessions, time, or talent, I want you to leave this parable and imagine yourself instead of the consumer. I want you to explore the characteristics of a steward. Just get out from beneath that burden of possessions and shift to the mindset of a steward. Stewards feel contentment. Instead of thinking, I'm going to be happy when I can find the right pair of shoes or the right car or the right house, they're aware of what sparks joy in their life. They know that they have enough, and they stop chasing bargains for the sake of chasing bargains and getting a good deal. Spending less and saving more are practices of contentment. And stewards share. When Steve Denuff was a child, he's the author of the book that inspired this series. When he was a child, his parents asked him for 10% of his Halloween candy. Can you imagine that? Do you remember how wonderful it was as a child to get a whole sack of candy? I don't know about you, but I wasn't allowed to eat candy on a regular basis. And then you get that whole pile of candy and you pour it out on the living room floor and you feel so rich. And it's right at that point that his parents asked for 1/10 of his candy. And it wasn't that the parents wanted to eat the candy. Well, maybe it was. But mostly it was so that they could teach him to not hold too tightly to his stuff, to freely share. When you have enough, share. And lastly, stewards are generous. Oh, they know the joy of sharing and being able to bless others. Over the Christmas season, you, the congregation of Davidsonville, you took on 10 children and 3 senior adults in order that their lives would be blessed with Christmas presents, things they needed, things that they wanted. Well, you did the shopping, the wrapping, but I got to do the delivery. And when you are taking a sack of Christmas presents into a trailer and meeting the parents for the first time, it is relief that you see in their face, relief that they are going to have some good gifts to give their children. When you knock on the door of a trailer of a senior person living alone, half the gift that you're bringing is the visit itself. You did the gifting, but I got to do the delivery, and I got to experience that joy. Each year, in January, the United Methodist denomination makes us do statistics. And we have to count how much money was donated and how much money was spent on the church and how many people attend and how many people are in learning groups. Well, if my math is correct, we spent or invested more than $90,000 in the year 2018 in order to bless others. Close to half that amount was given to the United Methodist denomination for cooperative projects like ending malaria throughout the world, or building hospitals or schools, or providing disaster relief. We are privileged to be part of a connectional system that has a powerful impact with big projects. But the rest was invested in people in our county. More than 170 children went to sleep with full bellies because of the winter weekend backpacks, bountiful backpacks, or the summer breakfast club. 15 families received Thanksgiving baskets. 20 students were able to begin school with all that they needed because we gave them school supplies. 2 brothers, not even part of this congregation, but both brothers with disability, were able to go to camp because we helped. Companion animals received medical care. Citizens' homes were made safe and secure. Last week, I was out in the community working with another charitable organization, and I overheard a conversation about taking care of one's parents. And a woman commented on the ease of entering Owensville Medical Center, even though her mom was in a wheelchair. And you know, we did that. We funded half of the cost of those access doors to the medical center. I am proud to be a leader of such a generous congregation. But what really warms my heart is the way people's souls are changed. When you are part of this congregation, then you come to know how much you are loved by God and the other disciples. And that soul care allows you to live from a center of deep acceptance instead of always running for the acceptance of others. No matter what life throws at you, you've come to know, or else you're coming to know, that you are not alone, and with God's help, you can endure anything. We not only endure, we thrive. We are not only blessed, but we bless others. Amen? Amen. I pray that you leave here this week with generous hearts of stewards, ready to share all that you have been given so that the lives of others can be transformed and that they can come to know Christ's abundant life too. Amen.